experiences when I came to Baltimore. I knew that I wanted to design for women in Baltimore. I just didn't know which women, who, or where they were, right? So I started looking into the population, looking where I could be helpful and where I could be resourceful as well. And I mean, I am Latina, right? So I was very lucky to find my community in Hylton. And when I did, I knew that that's the place where I needed to just base my research and my whole project. And my experience in Baltimore as well. So that's for me.
I can share mine because it's a little bit backwards.
Yes, I'm concerned about America.
Sorry. Okay. I originally wanted to talk about capitalism, but that's a really big. It's big. It's a big topic, and there's so many issues that kind of stem from capitalism as a whole. And diving more into my research and things being pushed by a large amount of people, I started to like look at one of the most monetized assets within our community, which is knowledge, and that's kind of how I settled on maker spaces and innovation.
And following the guidelines in terms of space that I was essential, but it's always done is to be tool or a box check so that the project can move forward. I guess I was quite confused about what was being left out for a very long time when I was in practice. And coming to this program was kind of focusing on what is being left kind of is the invisible space in safety, which is driving on.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, for me, I came into the program, really wanting to explore, criminal legal reform, and, I feel pretty passionately about prison abolition, but I had to look at the work that was being done here in Baltimore. And even that was a really, really wide scope. And it wasn't until I came across a article online speaking about queer people's and women's experiences in prison that I even realized how different their journeys in the carceral system looked. And then I was really lucky to find Pivot Baltimore, which is the only like women's reentry program in Baltimore, and they do really, really incredible work, and I just felt like I needed to pursue that area. I'm glad I did.
So for me, in my presentation, I kind of gave you guys a background of my research. As far as the topic, I kind of pulled from things that I saw when we were implementing the restorative practices in Hylton, and noticed that they were still happening here. And I also have a friend who's working on restorative work on the national level. We should read that topic across the board with the so that is what it's.
But I really didn't, when I even just like a few, two months ago, I was still stuck on what I'm doing because I'm talking to all of these people just around education. There's just so many things that everybody's all the time. I didn't know what to do and how to organize it. And then one night, my friend stopped me to put everything on somebody board. There seems to be this one issue that you have a lot of information on. Why don't you start looking at that?
No, that was, oh, and also I'm a student here, so I'm a NASD 24 student. So I'm part of the cohort, so I kind of have like a little bit of an insider perspective behind the work that's going on. And yes, like all that was exceedingly comprehensive. But I also want to say like, we as the audience got to see how clean it was. But even thinking the process, so many ups and downs and things that could pop up and changes that we all need. And to distill it down and present it so clean is an art in and of itself. So great job on that. And we're going to move on to our next question we got here. What are the things that didn't fit into your presentation that are still important to share?
So many insights that would have been, if I had one time, like 5 minutes, would have been great to share. I think also, given the time, sharing prototyping a little bit more and why I came to the ideas, and why and all that. Huh? Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, in my case, speaking about Latina empowerment in Baltimore, definitely a bunch of stuff that I couldn't include in my presentation was resources. All of the resources that already exist, that are laid out, that people are often not aware that they are. And just mapping, speaking about these pathways of empowerment, I am also mapping out these stories, how to get from point A to point B in a place, navigating a new country, right? So that's something that I'm looking forward to include in my publication. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just thought of my answer. So I was looking at when you're looking at, someone's experience in the carceral system, the way that I understand it best is looking at, what their life looks like before, prison, while in prison and after prison. And that's a huge narrative to try and fit into 10 minutes. So I really only focused on, kind of a little bit what happens right before people are released, women are released, and what their life looks like after. But if I had the time, I would have really liked to lay out the groundwork for, how these women end up being incarcerated in the first place, what kind of like systemic oppressions are working against them, and then also the inequities that exist in prisons themselves, because those are very vast. But yeah, there's just so much to share about it. I feel like we could never share enough about the topic.
For me, I would say that I wish that I could have highlighted my community partners more. I would love to stress how wonderful their work is, but I knew that in a 10-minute time period, I would not be able to respect the honor that I kind of glossed over them. So really, if you guys want to learn anything about restorative work happening in Baltimore, I'd say one of the 2 places to seek out first are my friends at Restorative Response Baltimore over there, and the Baltimore chapter of the Wisdom Project.
I would say, I definitely think I would have wanted to in this every person's name and see how they contribute to this. The other thing that I really wanted to include was just how populated the education landscape in Baltimore is, especially in terms of interventions. If you can imagine a place where you can intervene to improve a child's education, it is happening already in Baltimore. There are multiple people working on it in schools, outside schools, in community centers, and rec centers. Everywhere that it is possible to intervene with parents, teachers, students, administrators, in the district, everywhere, there are lots of people working on it. So I think that was something that I would love to show to the world, just that sheer well-being of people who are
Which was even broad topic, and everything was over and I said how to improve that in what I was learning. I wish I could talk to more people with different experiences as well. That kind of has given me why it should be problem space where I felt like I could which is a connected to the further I'm trying to see for this project. And that's something I really wish I had more insights on, more intersections where people are facing problems beyond just because of it. And you just want to say that this is so much more intersections. Problems in the system.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna turn it to you guys. You guys have a question you're sitting on. I know you have a question you wanna ask. Raise a hand. You do or no?
I'm curious about, I'm curious about something you may have heard from your research that surprised you in a way that's like
After you're in an unhealthy position.
I'm just gonna interpret that, and this is something that I shared on my presentation, it was my first insight. And it's that 1 in every 3 Latinas reported an experience of sexual abuse. Now, this is not a finding that I could take to the next level, right? I'm focused in the empowerment and my research, even though it takes into consideration that insight is focused on living on a different path. However, that it's still there, it still happened, and it was very funny, well, not funny clearly, but it was very just right? Because I got that information, and when I was sharing it with my cohort, one of my peers was saying like, oh yeah, actually 1 in every 3 women suffer an experience of sexual abuse, and I was like, yeah, literally, like I have it here in the data. So I think that was the insight that to me was more of the whole thing.
Something that I learned that was really disappointing and sad, I guess, was just understanding how many women in prisons are mothers, that the majority of women in prisons are mothers. I did not realize that it was literally more than half. And that's devastating. And also I think it was difficult then to open up, looking at not just gendered cycles of incarceration, but also like throughout families as well. And how this is affecting children with parents who are incarcerated. And then also just like the overall health of communities, when you remove women who are the backbones of their neighborhoods, of the blocks, for other families, like that really, that reverberates and there's like a significant difference when these women aren't there. So yeah, that was difficult to learn.
Yeah. One more.
I was just going to say that, talking to our teachers, like the things that happen in schools, it just stays with them, like, whether the students passing, students being. Things like this, like, you may think that, oh, it's just 1 among 30 students or a teacher's class for 1 year, but then, like, it's just like, these kids are just passing, the students, teachers have to get another one. But the way the teachers spoke about students that they've seen, going through different situations like 14 years ago, that's just sad.
So we just finished up our most recent state legislative assembly session. And a lot of that policy work tends to be very left-brained, analytical, very siloed, unfortunately. And I think the way you all presented these challenges from a rehumanized perspective and more through creative storytelling, thinking about how these challenges can be approached more coherently. Just wondering your thoughts as we think ahead perhaps to next legislative assembly or just policy making in general. For those of all of us in the room who want to be those instigators and advocates, how the power of the approach that you all demonstrated this evening might be brought to bear to advance policy more productively in the future.
That's a really fantastic question. Everybody here. Confirm with that. But in response to your question, I think that like the core of our work with social designers is turning first to people with lived experience and people working directly with issues. I attended the National Conference for Returning Citizens, and one of the quotes that I heard that was really, really impactful was the people who are closest to the solutions, or wait, excuse me. Let me start over. The people that are closest to the problem are closest to the solution, but furthest from the resources to do so. So I think pulling in people with lived experience who are working on the ground with the issues at hand is really impactful for gaining crucial insight that you just would never learn if you didn't go on to communities to speak with people.
Also, the various experience with lots of information how people to access and get going beyond and reaching out to people and trying to identify problem spaces, which what we don't see on surface level. Honestly, we mentioned about changes. Also, unit is not doing it for someone else, but we're doing it for ourselves as well. A problem can affect any one of us at any lifetime. So having that inclusive mindset to have more problems.
I don't have any decision yet. Thinking that the power of the same thing. If you're saying about people and how can these games that are kind of fluctuating between private officials or those in power and those who need power, how can these games strengthen and how can we give to them and transfer people to the language that they know is more acceptable in within meeting better. So I'm hoping that through our work, we are able to facilitate that.
One more question.
Oh, I was gonna hop on that question because it's like so great. I feel like one of the major things that is super easy for us to define community because we can kind of find our field, define our social problem, our community is right there. We as social designers can we have to step out to sort of do this work, but stepping out, but finding the connection that we're still in is paramount. Because as soon as you step out and you become like an anthropologist, or you have this sort of immersive mindset that if you have that, then you can start thinking of yourself, which could be problematic if you try to engage with your community and they're like, oh, this is a performance, this is you becoming something for me. When you are able to define your community, whether that be within the assembly or what you're advocating for within the policy, that will really probably enable you to just become a social designer in the way that you do the research. And I feel like there's a lot of like technical jargon that can be still reapplied because it's just a process that can be reiterated. So I feel like if you're defining your community, then you can sort to kind of get that research, the qualitative data, the insights from interviews, talking, and then develop that community even more by the instead of those values. Yeah, amazing.
No question over here. First of all, great job on the presentations, excellent. And each one of you had a particular topic that you touched on, you did an excellent job with it. But I know you journeyed through this experience as a cohort. So my question is, what are some of the connection points between the different topics and presentations that if you see some intersections in the work that you all do?
Well, I would say, just a word in general that could probably sum up all of our work is something to do with, events about that. I think we've all done.
Yeah, I was gonna follow that up. I think all of us, despite it being our own personal projects, we all kind of went along the journey together. We worked on our projects together and we advised and critiqued together. So we all kind of went along this journey and learned things that we might not necessarily learn if we worked as individuals. As well as some of us had pretty close ties on topics. Me and Pallavi were together a lot of the time, trying to work out different things that we both were finding within our own fields of our subjects. Similar to Ruth and Meredith, if you want to touch on that. Yeah, well, like Sydney said, I think there's a little bit of all of us in each of our presentations. I really wouldn't have been able to do this without the support of my cohort and our professors. And yeah, there's not much more I can say about that, but between me and Meredith, I think that our work is very similar in the sense that it, as in restorative justice work and like reentry care and just taking a closer look at the carceral system as it reimagines an established institution and thinks about what else it could be, how else it could look, and I think it questions how we approach punishment and I think again the same goes for all of us. I think we're all looking at larger systems through like focused like empathetic lens on the people. Yeah, so I think that there's a strong through line between all of our work.
I think also add that during a lot of the points where we were sharing just each other, even though our topics may have been different, I think our schools of thought and the way really like influenced each other. Because I remember thinking about the way Pallavi was thinking about empowerment and kind of trying not to think about empowerment because she didn't feel right about being the person to define empowerment for someone else. And then when I was thinking about that for myself, I was like, that's how it should be. Teachers, and nobody should be telling teachers how to be a good teacher. They know how to do that. And you just need to like let them do it. But I think similarly, like with every conversation that we have, I think like first of all, I feel like we're always all of each other's work, but also the way each person gets their own creative perspective to every topic is such a unique takeaway for us as listeners to then apply to our own listeners, so that now it's just in all of the work.
Beautiful words that end on full of words.
Thank you so much for offering time to us today. Listening to these wonderful presenters and social designers. Thank you, Mass 2024. We will see you guys at the reception afterward. You can clap these ones out.
Can I offer a few more uplifts and some more gratitude? This concludes the auditorium portion. Okay, we want to thank you for supporting our amazing students. Number one. Thank you to family and friends who literally make this possible. Thank you to all our partners in Baltimore and beyond for your trust, support, openness, and understanding. There is so much extraordinary work being done by really extraordinary people. Tremendous gratitude and love to our fierce MASD alumni, many of whom are here, and also a special shout out to future MASD students the next year's class. There are a few brave folks that made it here tonight and online. To my dear Pickett Slater Harrington. Thank you, Pickett. Our visiting faculty, artists and designers, our fantastic partners in microproduct design, fantastic students. Thank you to Sydney and Ruth for screen printing workshop, to Shannon for getting us here, for doing the really heavy lifting to make all the presentations work, really. Thank you, Tony, for photography tonight. Thanks to our dear colleagues in grad studies and grad admissions for critical support and leadership. And can we please give one last round of applause to our great folks here, the MASD students. One more round of applause for this. So we're going to be in the MASD studio, which if you go out this door and take a left, look for the blue wall that says Center for Social Design. We're going to have refreshments. We can have informal conversations. Come hang out. Okay. Thank you all very much.
I don't know where these go, so I'm just.
Oh, yeah. Are they off?
That one's off, yeah.
Off.
Isaac. One second, I'm just going. Sweet. Thank you to everyone who was on the Zoom call. Thank you, and we're all gonna see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Good night. No.
What?
It's my dad.
That's my grandma.
My
dad.
Bye.
And my other grandma.
Okay. Bye-bye. Good night. Thank you.